Welcome back to another episode of Well Life Wednesday podcast, where we have the honest conversation about mental health, emotional wellness, faith, healing, and everyday experiences that affect our ability to live well. I am your host, Cristy, licensed clinical mental health counselor supervisor.
And I'm your co-host, Iris, your licensed clinical addiction specialist associate. Today we're discussing a topic that is emotionally complicated and deeply personal for many people. And our topic today is about church hurt and mental health recovery.
Well, Iris, this is a good one. We hear this often. Church is supposed to be a place of safety, encouragement, spiritual growth, love, accountability, and community. However, for some people, their experiences within the church environment have caused emotional pain, confusion, shame, rejection, and even trauma. When pain happens within the faith community, it can affect more than a person's relationship with other people. It can affect how they see themselves, how they understand God, and whether they feel safe participating in a church community again.
That's so true. Some people may have been judged during the vulnerable season of their life. Others may have experienced gossip, rejection, manipulation, spiritual abuse, public embarrassment, favoritism, harsh correction, leadership failures, or lack of support during a mental health or substance use crisis. For some, church hurt involved one incident. For others, it developed through repeated experiences over several years.
That's right, Iris. But before we begin, we want to acknowledge that this conversation may bring up difficult memories or emotions. Please take care of yourself while listening. Pause the episode when needed, talk with a trusted support person, and seek professional mental health support if this conversation feels a little bit overwhelming. This podcast is for education and encouragement and should never replace individual mental health treatment.
And we also want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's H3P. Let me say it right. H3C PLLC.
There you go.
H3C PLLC. Please like the episode, share it with someone who may need this conversation. Please leave a comment. Your engagement helps us reach more people with the message about mental health, faith, and wellness.
That's right, Iris. So, what is church hurt? Let's start there. Defining church hurt. Church hurt refers to emotional, psychological, relational, or spiritual pain that occurs within a church setting or through interactions with people connected to a faith community. Church hurt can involve a pastor, minister leader, church member, volunteer, a friend, family member, or the entire church system. It is important to understand that disagreement alone is not always church hurt. Okay.
Mhm.
Sometimes we may receive correction, but hearing something uncomfortable or experiencing a decision we may not agree with, discomfort does not automatically mean abuse or mistreatment occurred. However, when people misuse spiritual authority, dismiss legitimate concerns, humiliate others, create fear, manipulate people, protect harmful behavior, or repeatedly violate emotional and relational boundaries, that can cause significant harm.
Right. Church hurt can take many forms. And let me say this, we often hear the word church hurt.
Mhm.
And it's not so much about the word church because the building itself is not hurting the people.
Oh,
It's the people that's inside the four walls. So it's often heard as the church hurt me, the church hurt me, but it's not the building. So let's shift that. So when we say in church hurt, we just saying in broad that the people inside the sanctuary or in those four walls, wherever you meet it, can sometimes be a bit much.
Yeah.
It may look like someone sharing personal information that was told to them in confidence.
Hmm.
It may look like a person being told their depression means they do not have enough faith. It may involve someone being pressured to remain in unhealthy marriages or relationships because they were told that setting boundaries was not biblical.
Yeah.
It may involve a person being isolated or treated differently after asking questions about leadership or church practices. It may also involve people feeling forgotten during grief, illness, unemployment, addiction recovery, divorce, or another difficult season that a person may have faced.
Yeah. And that's true, Iris. I think you hit the nail on the head there. It's not the building. And so when people say, I don't go to church because I've been hurt. No, you don't go to church because someone in the church
Mhm.
hurt you. A boundary was crossed. There was some disappointment. There was a disagreement. So to negate church altogether
Right,
because of a single incident or could be multiple incidents with different individuals, that's a reflection,
right. There you go.
right? You have to say, what am I doing in this situation that could cause this? What boundaries have I not set that I'm allowing people to constantly come in and do this to me or treat me this way?
Hmm.
And maybe that's just not the church for you. That it shouldn't be the end all be all because you were hurt because that can you can get hurt anywhere.
That's good.
You
Yeah.
gonna stop going to your job that pays you because you got hurt by your coworkers or your boss? They
Come
called you
on.
out. You got a bad performance review? No.
There you go. Hmm.
So why is the standard different when it comes to the church? Boundaries should be set everywhere. Some
Hmm.
people experience what is called spiritual bypassing. We talked about this a couple of episodes ago, Iris. Spiritual bypass happens when spiritual statements are used to avoid addressing real emotional pain,
Hmm.
mental health symptoms, trauma, conflict, or accountability. For example, somebody might say, just pray about it. You need more faith. You should be over it by now. Everything happens for a reason. Do not question a leader. Forgive and forget. All of those are wonderful statements that we've heard over and over again. But until you put some action behind those statements and try to figure
Hmm.
out what the issue is, you're going to keep saying it. You can pray about it, but we're going to talk about what the issue is so we can fix it. I have faith, but I'm going to use my faith to get understanding and clarity about why we keep having this same problem.
Right.
I'm not going to get over it because if we don't address it, it can come up again. Everything happens for a reason, yes. And it was for us to see that we have some unclear situations and some unset boundaries in
Hmm.
in this church that needs to be addressed. Do not question the leader. The leader writes the vision and makes it plain. So if it's unclear to you, who are you supposed to question if not the leader to get clarity? I want to be my best steward in the church. So if I have clarity or there's misunderstanding or I feel like we're off, the only person you can go is to leadership because we got to fix this thing. Because if not, it's gonna be a domino effect. It's gonna create different pinpoint situations, weak points in the church. Forgive and forget. I can forgive, but I'm not gonna forget because if I start seeing these flags and signs again coming up, we need to make a note. Hey, remember that happened last time. I see it happening over there on the left. Somebody
Hmm.
get it. We got to stop brushing stuff up under the rug and not holding people accountable and having just general conversations. Yes, conversations are going to be hard, but they're going to continue to be hard if we never address them. If you never have the conversation, it's always going to be hard.
That's true.
Although prayer, faith, forgiveness, and trust in God are important, these statements can become harmful when they are used to silence a person or prevent honest conversation.
Pretty much what you just said. Yeah. So prayer and professionalism support do not have to compete with each other. They can go hand in hand. A person can pray and attend therapy. A person can trust God and take medication. A person can forgive someone and still establish boundaries. A person can love with their church and still acknowledge that something harmful has happened. I can, like you said, Chris, you gave a good example. You can have a disagreement on the job. You can have a disagreement with your best friend. You can have a disagreement with your spouse, but that does not take away that you still have you still love them, you still look up to them,
Mhm.
and you still gonna go to that job no matter what the disagreement was. The same thing. I can have a disagreement in church and still go back the next Sunday
With love
with
and
love.
keep it moving because it's clear. We have clarity.
Mm-hmm.
We can have a disagreement and I may not understand your point of view, but
Mm-hmm.
I can respect it because that's your point. We can try a common ground meeting in the middle somewhere. And if we can't meet in the middle, that's when you go get somebody else to help assess the situation.
Mm-hmm.
So that's an important part. Acknowledging harm is not the same as attacking the church.
Good. Right. Right.
It is possible to value the church while also recognizing that churches are made up of people and people make mistakes.
That's it.
They misuse power, they avoid accountability, or respond poorly. We talked about this last episode. We're all still human, no matter what roles, titles we have. Humanity is still in there. Sometimes we fall short daily, right? Faith communities should be willing to examine how their words, their policies, and leadership styles and responses affect people.
Mm-hmm.
You are dealing with them when you're dealing with a diverse population and different people from different backgrounds, different education levels, and all of that. As a leader in leadership, you have to be mindful of those things because everybody's not going to interpret, understand,
Mm-hmm.
or receive things the same way.
Right.
Yes, that can be taxing on one person to try to be able to gauge how can I um, get my message across or set these boundaries or these policies so that across the board everybody understands. But that's the call. That's if that's what you were called to do, you have to make sure that you are holding yourself up to a standard and make sure that what you're putting out there, everybody understands it. And we're all on
That's
the same page.
that's good. Guys, we'd love for you to join this conversation in the comments without sharing anything too personal. Tell us why you believe what you believe makes a church emotionally safe. And while you are doing that, remember to like this episode and subscribe to our channel. That's H3C PLLC on YouTube.
That's right. So, Iris, how does church hurt affect mental health? It does in many ways. People may experience anxiety before attending church, hearing certain songs, seeing certain people, or entering a building that reminds them of what happened.
Mm-hmm.
They may have racing thoughts, difficult sleeping, sadness, anger, guilt, shame, distrust, or emotional numbness. You don't know what people have gone through and what situations can be triggering. It
Mm-hmm.
can be as simple as your nana attended church all the time and sat on the left hand side. So when you go to church and you go over there and look over there at the mother section, it's triggering to you, right?
Mm-hmm.
It can be that church was your foundation. You were rooted and grounded and brought up in there. So when you come and it's not the same as what you grew up in or your community or the dynamics you used to, that can be triggering for you because we're in a different time now. So church looks a little different, right? Some people begin questioning their worth. They wonder why, um, was it my fault? Am I a bad Christian? Why did no one protect me? Why did people believe the leader instead of me? Why did God allow this? Can I ever trust the church again? These are real questions that people have in their head, and the dynamics, because what can be traumatic to one person might be something else to another. So we can't judge people for how they feel, but we can help them find a balance and get back to a safe place, because church should be an open and safe place for everybody.
That's
Hurt
true.
is going to happen no matter what,
That's so true.
but we want to be there to um, manage it and make sure, while they're going through the healing process, that they feel loved and validated.
Hmm. For many people who already have a history of trauma, rejection, abandonment, abuse, church hurt may reopen earlier emotional wounds. Like you said earlier, Christy. If you look at the world today, social media has so displayed the church in such a negative light. You see so much stuff um, pertaining to church hurt, or how people felt like they was treated, or it's different stuff that we see on social media. And it's sad because it has gotten to the point that when you talk to, I can say, non-believers, they feel like they're more safe in the world than coming to church, because what has been shown or what they have heard, maybe a friend or a family member told them what happened to them in a at church, or what somebody did to them. It always rooted back to like church hurt. So we had to get back to the point that we continue to show love. That's what it all boils down to: treating people with respect, love, and dignity. For example, if someone grew up feeling ignored or unprotected, being dismissed by a church leader may reinforce the belief that their feelings do not matter. If someone has a history of being controlled, spiritually manipulated, feels similar to an early experience of control, someone taking advantage of them. They didn't have no say so in their life. And you see that a lot of times in people that has been abused, mentally and physical, and in relationships.
Yeah.
And if someone has struggled with shame, public correction or gossip may deepen the shame. And we see that a lot, where people are just slandering each other on social media that pose to be Christians, have a spiritual background. And we wonder why the church now is in the way it is.
Yeah, that's true, Iris. Church hurt can also affect a person's support system.
So true.
Many people build their relationships, family routines, volunteer activities, and spiritual life around their church. Church is such a big, especially in our community, church is such a big part of people's lives.
Hmm.
You develop long lasting friendships. You go on trips with each other. You go to each other's house. It's more than just church. It's a family.
Yeah.
When they leave a church or reduce their environment, they may also lose multiple relationships at the same time. So imagine that. You get so hurt or feel so violated, you leave the church and you've lost a sense of community and family, everything
Hmm.
that your life was centered around. They may no longer be invited to gatherings. Friends may stop calling. People may assume that they're angry, rebellious, bitter, or spiritually lost. That sudden disconnection can contribute to loneliness, depression, and grief. So that's the connection, how church hurt can affect a person's mental health.
And grief is an important part of this conversation today. A person may not only be grieving what happened, they also may be grieving what they believe the the church community was.
Mhm.
Like you just said, if they lost that connection, if that was their support system, and they lost the friends and everything that they had to pretty much maintain them, give them some port of belonging, what you think is going to happen? They're going to grieve that loss.
Yeah.
Um, They may grieve, like we said, that lost friend of leadership, the sense of belonging, like I said, and the grief of the role they once had. They could have held a position.
Mhm.
They may even grieve the version of themselves who once left excited about attending church. So if that excitement gone, what else? What do they have left? And a
Right.
lot of times when people get to that point, the motivation is gone.
Because now you don't know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
A part of your identity is gone.
Right.
Some people feel guilty for grieving because no one died. And like we said, loss can look like anything. It doesn't have to necessarily mean death.
Mm-hmm.
However, grief can occur when something where there is a significant loss. The loss of trust is real. The loss of community is real. The loss of spiritual safety is real. And the loss of ministry identity can also be real.
Wow. Well, church hurt may also contribute to avoidance. We talked about this before in the episode avoidance. A person may stop attending church, stop reading scripture, stop praying, stop talking with people who reminded them of their experience. Avoidance may provide temporary relief because the person does not have to face the painful reminders. However, over time, complete avoidance can sometimes increase fear, isolation, and unresolved pain. And we never want to get to the point, as especially as the church, the body of Christ, that we lose people to the point of they don't want to return because of fear, isolation, unresolved pain, or they feel like they have been hurt. Or that's not what church is about. Church is a safe haven. We also often hear back in the day, it's a hospital.
Yeah.
So whatever you need, it is there.
Mhm.
But if we treating them any kind of way, they're gonna run back to what they was used to.
Yeah. If the streets are safer,
Yeah.
you know, it's also important possible for people to continue attending church while remaining emotional distress.
Mm,
They may smile, they may serve, they may sing, they may preach, teach, or lead while silently experiencing anxiety, sadness, resentment, and exhaustion. And I think that's the state of the church right now.
mm-hmm.
Being present in church does not always mean someone has healed from what has happened there.
Now that's true. That's
You
so
can
true.
you can still be broken in a place where there's supposed to be healing and recovery.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to go, you're inside, but you haven't admitted yourself. We haven't ran down what the issues are. What's the cause of your pain?
Mm-hmm.
You just keep going up to the altar every Sunday, but you're not telling anybody what the problem is. There's got to be some treatment that takes place. It doesn't just happen on Sunday. Church is not
Mm-hmm.
just Sunday service. You have people there, supports there. They have resources to help point you in the right direction during the week to help you in your healing process, to help you in your for those of you who are but you're recovering in your
Mm-hmm.
process. There's different stages of people, levels of people in the church. Just like the hospital, you have different each level there's a tier, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you have to make sure you're reaching every area level that the person is on so they can get what they need.
That's true. This is why we should be careful about making assumptions. Someone who stops attending church may not have lost their faith. They may be trying to recover from an experience that made them feel unsafe. Someone who asks a question may not be disrespectful. As you said earlier, Chris, could be trying to just get clarity, just trying to get an understanding. Someone who sets boundaries may not be bitter. They may be protecting their mental and emotional health.
Mhm.
And that's what it's all about anyway.
Yeah. Healing begins when people are allowed to tell the truth about their experiences without being immediately corrected, blamed, or silenced. People so quick to try to grab the mic. Yeah, we don't know what if somebody's not able to tell their story in a safe place. Then where are they gonna get their healing and deliverance?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe their story is helping somebody else who's on that same tier, on that same level they're on, and they didn't have the confidence to come up and get help and to tell somebody or to say.
Mm-hmm.
Just because we're not used to hearing stuff, just because we think, oh gosh, that's too much for the church. Nothing is too much for the church. Nothing is too much for God. We got to stop shunning and putting stuff on the back burner and not addressing things because we don't want to talk about it. We don't want to put stuff on Front Street. That is not helpful. You're going to keep having the same people in your congregation still struggling, and it's going to keep seeping over to the next people over in the other pew.
Chris, that goes back to I always say, and you know, people gonna come in. I keep saying it's not gonna look like you. They're not gonna smell like you. They're not gonna think like you. They might not have the same education as you, but that's where back in the day, once you got them in there and they was coming consistent, the mothers
Yeah.
in the church taught them. The deacons in the church was teaching the men. Back in the day when we were growing up, we had about like what we have now, like the women's group,
Yeah.
where you could talk about anything to try to support the women to come up. They were trying to teach us younger ladies how to act, how to dress, what was appropriate.
Yeah.
But now we don't do that. We just yeah,
We let anything go.
yeah.
Let everything-
Let's talk about church hurt versus losing faith. One of the struggles people often face after church hurt is separating their experience with people from their understanding of God. When someone experiences harm from a spiritual leader or faith community, it can feel as if though God has rejected or abandoned them. This is especially true when the person who accused harm claims to speak for God. But listen, we said it earlier already. You're gonna That's just part of life. Someone's gonna say something that you don't that you're not gonna like. People gonna try to mistreat you. People gonna talk about you. People gonna lie on you. But it's all about how you respond and how you act towards this. A lot of times people now we're in a different age now. People will fly off the handle. You come to them any type of way, you don't know what you're gonna get.
That's true.
But it goes back to love and kindness have I drawn thee. We have to get back to showing love. And we was taught at an early age, you have to treat people how you want to be treated.
That's
It
right.
goes back to simple stuff.
Simple.
A, B, and C. 1, 2, 3. That's what we got to get back to.
That's right. A harmful church experience can distort a person's view of God. They may begin to see God as harsh, demanding, controlling, disappointed, or unsafe. They may believe that God only values them when they are serving, giving, sacrificing, or remaining silent. But harmful behavior by a person should not automatically be interpreted as the character of God. People can misrepresent God. Listen, they can. Leaders can misunderstand scripture. Church systems can develop unhealthy cultures. A person's title does not make every decision they make correct.
That's true. People got to remember, we are human. We're subject to error.
That's right.
Spiritual leadership should not remove accountability. We got to hold everybody accountable. That's just like on our jobs. When people start picking and choosing who you gonna let get away with stuff, if this coworker can be out 2 or 3 times throughout the week, but let me call out one day you calling me in the office.
Mhm.
It has to be a same across the board. Cause then this how gossip start happens at work. When
Right.
people start saying that, they're gonna go say, "Did you see that Sally had these many days off, and when we try to take our day, that they denied us, or we got called into the office." People start seeing it, so now we got a whole department upset, mad, and gossiping.
Yep. You're right.
That's the same. That's pretty much what happens at church. When people don't see the same thing across the board, it makes others feel some type of way. Like, are you getting special treatment? And
Mm.
that's not how it should flow.
That's not how the system should be in the church.
Yeah.
Healthy leadership.
I was thought I was gonna lose my thought, but healthy leadership allows questions, encouraging wisdom, respect boundaries, protects confidentiality, and recognize when professional support is needed. Healthy leaders do not have to be perfect, but they should be willing to acknowledge mistakes, apologize sincerely, accept correction, and make changes.
That's right. For someone recovering from church hurt, it may be necessary to rebuild their spiritual life slowly. That may include private prayer, journaling, listening to encouraging messages, studying scripture independently, speaking with a trusted spiritual mentor, or attending a different church when they feel ready. Healing does not have to follow someone else's timeline. It never has to follow someone else's timeline.
And returning to the same environment is not always required for healing. Sometimes reconciliation is possible. Sometimes repair can occur through an honest conversation, accountability, and change in behavior. And that's where I think we lack it the most.
Yeah,
We don't want to have those honest conversations and hold people accountable. And we're not seeing change behavior.
at all.
At other times, distance may be necessary. Forgiveness does not always mean restoring the same level of access.
That's good.
And that's okay. If I'm not seeing any change behavior, I can't allow my peace to continue to be disturbed because I'm thinking about nothing has changed. They don't see me, they don't hear me. So I cannot give this same allow that same access anymore. I
Right.
have to stop it at some time because if not, is we're going to be on the same cycle. Someone has to stop it.
Yeah.
So that for me, that looks like boundary setting.
There you go.
Reconciliation requires more than one person. We can't do it by yourself.
Right.
It involves honesty, safety, responsibility, and consistent change.
That's worth repeating. You can forgive someone and still decide that the relationship is no longer emotionally safe. You can release the desire for revenge without returning to a harmful environment.
Mhm.
You can pray for people from a distance.
Mhm.
You can honor your faith while also honoring the boundaries needed for your recovery.
Again, let's take a minute to share this episode with someone who may need permission to heal without shame. Also, subscribe to the YouTube channel H3CP LLC. That's H3CP LLC, and turn on your notifications so you do not miss our future episode.
That's right. So let's talk about steps towards mental health recovery. The first step is to name what happened. Many people minimize their experiences because they do not want to appear disrespectful or divisive. They may also say, I was It was not that serious. Maybe I'm being too sensitive. They are a leader, so I must be wrong. I should have handled that better. But healing requires honesty. Naming what happened does not mean exaggerating it. It means describing the experience accurately.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're describing something accurately, you may say, my confidence is broken. My private information was shared. I was pressured to ignore my emotional needs. My concerns were dismissed. I felt manipulated. I was blamed for someone else's behavior. I did not feel safe.
And the second step is to allow yourself to feel your emotions. You may feel angry, sad, betrayed, confused, embarrassed, relieved, or even guilty. You may miss the people who hurt you. You may miss the church you also knowingly that you lose. You may miss the church while also knowing that leaving was necessary. You may want an apology that never comes.
Ever.
You may feel strong one day and overwhelmed the next. Recovery is not always a straight line. Your emotions may change and you gain new understanding.
Yeah.
Again, allow yourself to feel your emotions.
Third step, seek safe support. This may include a licensed therapist, counselor, support group, trusted friend, mature spiritual leader, or family member. Choose people who can listen without immediately telling you what you should do. A safe support person should not pressure you to reconcile before you are ready.
Mm-hmm.
They should not share your story with others. They should not use your vulnerability to control you. They should help you clearly identify choices and recognize your strengths.
That's good. Therapy can be especially helpful when church hurt has contributed to depression, anxiety, panic attacks, trauma symptoms, substance use, self harm thoughts, relationship difficulties, or spiritual confusion. A therapist can help you separate facts from self blaming thoughts. Therapy can also help you identify triggers, establish boundaries, process grief, rebuild your trust, and develop coping strategies.
Yeah. The fourth step is to challenge unhealthy beliefs. Church hurt can create beliefs such as I cannot trust anyone. All churches are unsafe. I'm responsible for keeping everyone happy. Saying no is disrespectful. If I leave, God will punish me. My needs don't matter. I have to remain silent to prove I'm spiritual. Wow.
Mm.
Recovery includes examining these beliefs and replacing them with the healthier truths. For example, I can learn to trust safe people gradually. I have the right to ask questions. Boundaries can protect relationships. I'm not responsible for controlling other people's actions. I can disagree respectfully.
Mhm.
My mental health matters.
The fifth step, establish boundaries. A boundary is not an attempt to control another person. A boundary identifies what you will and will not participate in. A boundary might sound like I am not comfortable with discussing that. I need time before making a decision. I will not continue this conversation while I am being yelled at. I say that so often at work. I am not available to serve in that role right now.
That's me
I need my personal information to remain confidential.
at all times.
I am willing to meet, but I would like another trusted person present. I always say
Mhm.
that at work. I would not return to that environment.
Yeah.
And see, That's setting boundaries. And there's nothing disrespectful about it. You're setting precise and consistency in what you're saying.
Right. Boundaries may disappoint people who benefit from you not having any.
Mhm.
That does not mean your boundary is wrong. When you begin setting boundaries, some people may call you distant, difficult, rebellious, or uncooperative. It is important to evaluate your boundary based on safety, values, wisdom, and emotional health, not simply on whether everyone agrees with it. I could care less if you agree with my boundary. They're mine. You're either
Mhm.
going to accept them and treat them as such, or we don't have nothing to talk about. Simple as that.
Number 6, rebuild trust slowly. You do not have to tell your entire story to every new person. You do not have to immediately join the ministry. You do not have to serve just because someone asks. You are allowed to observe. You're allowed to ask questions. You're allowed to notice how leaders respond to disagreement, confidentiality, accountability, and mental health concerns. Trust should be built through consistent behavior over time.
That's
But
good.
for first, we trust too easily.
Yes.
You only know them 15 days, and 40 days you gonna marry the person. No, I need to observe. I need to see some stuff.
The seventh step is to reconnect with your identity outside of church roles. Some people become known mainly by what they do in church. They are the singer, the preacher, the usher, the armor bearer, the teacher, the musician, the administrator, the media volunteer, intercessor, or ministry leader. When that role ends, they may wonder who they are. Your identity is larger than your title.
Mhm.
You still have worth when you are not serving. Rest does not make you unfaithful. Taking a break does not erase your purpose. You are a whole person with emotional, physical, relational, and spiritual needs.
Guys, we'd like you to comment below one healthy boundary that can protect a person's emotional wellness in a church environment. Remember to like this episode, share it, and subscribe to H3CPLLC.
So, what healthy churches can do? Healthy healing from church hurt is not only the responsibility of the person who was hurt. Churches and leaders also have the responsibility to create healthier environments. Healthy churches should take mental health concerns seriously. They should avoid presenting every emotional struggle as a spiritual failure. They should be willing to refer people to licensed mental health professionals when appropriate. Prayer and pastoral care can be valuable, but some situations require specialized clinical support.
Healthy churches should also protect confidentiality. People should understand when information must be shared for safety reasons, such as when someone may harm themselves or someone else. Outside of those situations, personal information should not become the prayer circle gossip or sermon material. Leaders shall ask permission before sharing someone's story publicly. And that goes beyond just church. That goes with work, friendships. If I come to you with something, respect that, my confidentiality.
Yeah. Healthy churches should create clear processes for reporting concerns. Members should know who they can speak with if a leader, volunteer, or another member behaves inappropriately. Concerns should be taken seriously and reviewed fairly. No person should be considered above accountability because of their title, influence, financial contribution, or years of service.
Churches Churches can also educate leaders about trauma informed care. Trauma informed ministries ask, what happened to this person? What helps this person feel safe? How can we avoid causing further harm? What choices can we offer? How can we communicate with passion? This approach is different from assuming that every behavior is rebellion, disrespect, or lack of faith.
Yeah. Healthy churches should also respect rest. People should not feel pressure to continue serving when they are grieving, experiencing a mental health crisis, caring for a family member, or emotionally exhausted. A ministry should not depend on one person sacrificing their health to keep everything functioning.
And when harm occurs, a genuine apology matters. A healthy apology does not say, I'm sorry you felt that way. That that to me that's like yeah, okay. I hear you, but yeah, I'm sorry about that.
It's not genuine.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but you also made a mistake. So now we're doing tick for tack. You misunderstood my intentions. A healthy apology sounds like this: I'm sorry for what I did. That's accountability. I understand that my action caused harm. I take responsibility. What can I do to repair the situation? I will make changes so this does not continue. That's healthy.
That's good. Accountability is not an attack on the church. Accountability can help the church become healthier, safer, and more aligned with the values it teaches.
So let's talk about a reflection for those who have been hurt. We want to speak directly to the person who has been hurt by the church, ministry, or spiritual leader. What happened to you matters. Your pain, you deserve to be acknowledged. You do not have to pretend that you're fine to make other people comfortable. You're allowed to seek help. You're allowed to ask questions. You're allowed to grieve. You're allowed to rest. And you're allowed to heal.
That's right, Iris. You may never receive the apology, the explanation, or accountability you hoped for. That reality can be painful, but your recovery does not have to remain completely dependent on someone else admitting what they did. You may never get it. That's just the reality of the situation. Healing can include releasing the expectation that the person who harmed you should also be the person who helps you recover. That's not their job. It was never their job. You can receive support from safe people. You can learn new coping skills. You can rebuild your identity. You can develop a healthier understanding of faith, community, and trust.
Healing does not mean the experience did not matter. Healing means the experience no longer controls every part of your life. It means you can remember without always becoming overwhelmed. It means you can identify warning signs. It means you can choose safe relationships. It means you can honor your emotions without allowing the pain to define your entire future.
So ask yourself these reflection questions. What exactly am I grieving? What triggers remind me of the experience? What beliefs about myself changed because of what happened? Which of those beliefs are unhealthy or inaccurate? What boundaries do I need? Who has demonstrated that they are emotionally safe? What would healing look like for me? Not for everyone else, but just for me.
You may want to pause the episode and write those questions down in a journal or notebook pad. Recovery becomes more manageable when we move from general pain to specific needs.
That's right. So, Iris, as we close today's episode, we want to remind you that the church can be a place of healing, support, belonging, and spiritual growth. At the same time, we must be honest that hurt can occur in church environments. Ignoring church hurt does not protect the church. Honest conversations, accountability, healthy boundaries, education, compassion can help create safer faith communities.
Church hurt and faith are not always the same thing. You may be disappointed in people and still love God. You may need distance from a particular church while continuing your spiritual journey. You may need professional counseling while also receiving prayer and pastoral support. You may need to heal privately before becoming active in a church community again. There is no shame in taking recovery seriously. No shame at
None
all.
whatsoever. We hope this episode reminded you that mental health matters, your spiritual well being matters, and your experiences deserve to be handled with care. Please remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, H3C PLLC. Like this episode, share with your family, your friends, ministry teams, church leaders, and anyone who may benefit from this conversation. We also invite you to leave a comment. You can share one if you can share one lesson you are taking from today's episode or one quality you believe every emotionally healthy church should demonstrate. We would greatly appreciate that.
And when you subscribe and engage with our content, you help the Well Life Wednesday podcast continue reaching people with conversations about mental health, faith recovery, relationship, and emotional wellness.
Until next time, continue to protect your peace, honor your healing, use your voice wisely, and remember that living well includes caring for your mind, body, relationship, and spirit.
And thank you for joining us for another episode of Well Life Wednesday podcast.
We'll see you guys next Wednesday. Bye, everybody.